Hey, imagine this. It's late January 2025, and while folks in China are popping firecrackers for the Spring Festival, a massive mess kicks off way over in Africa. The M23 rebel group in the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, storms Goma, the capital of North Kivu province. Then they keep rolling south, snagging Bukavu, the capital of South Kivu, while the DRC's government troops basically run for the hills. Now, fights in Africa aren't exactly rare, and most Chinese wouldn't bat an eye. Feels like a world away, right? But this M23 thing, it's different. It's got China's name written all over it, and not just because of some shiny rocks. Why China's paying attention? A war in Africa tied to China's interests. First thing that pops into your head might be cobalt. The DRC's sitting on over half the world's supply of this stuff. And cobalt's the magic juice for lithium batteries. With China's economy riding hard on electric cars and green tech, a chaotic DRC could screw up that whole game plan. But that's just the surface. Dig deeper and it's about something bigger. The way the world's been running since World War II is starting to crack. To get the full picture, we've got to talk about a guy who's practically a legend online in China, Paul Kagame. Who's Paul Kagame? Do a quick search on Paul Kagame, and you'll find a ton of stories about this dude. Here's the rundown. Post-genocide hero. Back in 1994, Rwanda went through hell with a genocide that killed over 1 million people. Kagame, a Tutsi, led the Rwandan Patriotic Front, mostly Tutsis too, back into the country from Uganda, took down the Hutu-led government that pulled off the slaughter, and grabbed the reins, rebuilding Rwanda. Once in charge, Kagame shook things up. He scrapped ethnic labels like Hutu and Tutsi on IDs, pushed for peace between the groups, and kicked the economy into gear. Rwanda's dodged big chaos since, and its capital, Kigali, is so clean and orderly it's been dubbed Africa's Singapore. Chinese influence vibes. Word on the street, or at least the Chinese internet, is that after some buddying up with China, Rwanda's army started marching in perfect step and folding their blankets into tight little squares. Total organization upgrade, giving them an edge over their neighbors. Now, some of that's exaggerated. The no more ethnic labels thing? Sure, it's off the paperwork, but good luck wiping it from people's heads. Rwanda used to be a Belgian colony, and the colonizers messed with everyone by splitting folks into Tutsis and Hutus based on dumb stuff like height and how many cows you own. Tall and rich, Tutsi. Short and poor, Hutu. Then they pitted them against each other to keep control. That's what sparked the 1994 nightmare. After the genocide, Kagame's crew rolled in, beat the old government, and took over. The Tutsis wanted payback, understandably, but Kagame didn't go full revenge mode. He punished the big shots, gave light sentences to the small fry, and tried to cool things down. He even put a Hutu guy, Pastor Bizimungu, as president. Though it was just for show, Kagame held the real power. It was a smart move to calm Hutu nerves. Why not go harder? Tutsis are only 15% of Rwanda's population. Hutus are 85%. If he'd pushed too far and freaked out the majority, he might have lost the whole gig. Peace wasn't just noble, it was practical. The catch. Here's the rub. Hutus are still jittery, wondering if the Tutsis are just biding their time. Some Tutsis, meanwhile, are scared the Hutus might flip the script and come after them again. Decades of bad blood don't vanish with a few laws. Kagame's answer? Crack down hard. You can't even say Hutu or Tutsi in public without the government jumping on you for divisive talk. Looks calm on top, but underneath, it's simmering. Every year, some Hutus bolt the country, saying they're getting hassled. The West calls Kagame a dictator for it. But let's be real. If he let everyone yap freely, 1994 could happen all over again. It's a tough spot, no easy fix. Problem is, keeping the lid on tight pisses people off. Kagame needs something big to keep folks happy, or his 20-year push to mash everyone into one happy Rwandan family could fall apart. Lucky for him, there's a juicy target next door, the DRC. The DRC, a big, messy prize. The DRC, sometimes called Congo-Kinshasa because its capital's Kinshasa, is huge. We're talking 2.3, 4.5 million square kilometers, second biggest in Africa, 11th in the world, with over 100 million people. It's a treasure chest, cobalt for your EV batteries, over half the world's stash, tantalum and niobium, 60% of global reserves, diamonds, copper, uranium for nukes. The list goes on. They haven't even fully mapped it because of all the fighting, so there's probably more. Since ditching Belgium in 1960, it's been a mess. The founding hero, Lumumba, got whacked within a year. Wars haven't stopped since, and the government's so weak it can't even count who's who. Best they've got is 85% are Bantu, which isn't even a real ethnic group, more like a cultural catch-all. Big land, big riches, no muscle. Neighboring countries are drooling, and Rwanda's licking its chops. Kagame's big chance, 1996. Kagame got his shot in 1996. The DRC's dictator, Mobutu, was on the ropes. Everyone hated him. Rebels everywhere. The big name was Laurent Old Kabila, a guy who'd been fighting since the 60s. Even Che Guevara rolled through in 65, hoping to spark a revolution with him. But old Kabila was too busy hitting bars and brothels to train his guys. Che bailed, calling him a flake. By 96, Mobutu's regime was crumbling, and old Kabila, desperate to be president, called in backup. Armies from Burundi, Rwanda, and Uganda. Burundi was just along for the ride. Rwanda and Uganda were the heavy hitters. Kagame was running Rwanda behind the scenes. Bizimungu was still the figurehead. And Uganda's Museveni was his old pal from way back. They'd teamed up in the 80s to topple Uganda's dictator, Idi Amin, and Museveni had Kagame's back when he took Rwanda. It worked like a charm. In under 2 months, they stormed Kinshasa, dumped Mobutu, and propped up old Kabila. But then he noticed a problem. Rwanda and Uganda controlled most of the DRC, while he just had the capital and a few cities. They started stuffing the government with their own people, saying, "We won this, we get the spoils." For Rwanda, nabbing a couple eastern provinces would double its size and pay off big at home. Tensions spiked. On July 27, 1998, old Kabila told them to get lost. Knowing he couldn't take them alone, he called in more help. South Africa, Zimbabwe, Angola, Namibia jumped in, plus Kenya, Tanzania, Libya, Sudan, Chad, and the Central African Republic. It was like an African world war. He thought he had the upper hand with all those allies, but nope. Most were just there for cash, not to die for him. And Rwanda and Uganda's armies? Tough as nails. Museveni knew some guerrilla tricks from Mao, and Rwanda's Tutsi-led troops were tight after the genocide. Way sharper than your average African outfit. They held their ground. Uganda locked down parts of Orientale and Equateur provinces. Rwanda took North and South Kivu, and even got close to Kinshasa. In January 2001, with some nudging from the duo, old Kabila got popped by a bodyguard. His son, Joseph Little Kabila, stepped up, saw the writing on the wall, and offered cash deals to get them out. They weren't thrilled. Why give up the prize? But then France showed up. France steps in. Belgium's French-speaking, so its old colonies like the DRC and Rwanda are too. France loves meddling in those zones. Kagame's crew had ties to English-speaking Uganda, and when they took Rwanda, they ditched French for English. Pissed France off big time. They'd backed the Hutus before '94, even sending troops and $100 million in aid. Now, seeing Kagame and Museveni carve up the DRC, France pushed the UN Security Council for a ceasefire and peacekeepers. It was a no-brainer morally. China said yes, Russia didn't care. The US and UK didn't fight it. No point clashing with France over this. Rwanda and Uganda had to pull out by July 2003. Same story popped up later, like in 2012 when Rwanda-backed M23 grabbed Goma, only for the UN to slap them down and force a retreat. As long as the Security Council and the old Yalta system, that post-World War II setup held, Rwanda couldn't go too wild. 2025, game changer. Fast forward to late January 2025, M23 hits Goma again, and the DRC army folds like a cheap suit. M23, short for March 23rd movement, came from an older rebel group tied to Rwanda. They'd been tamed by the UN in 2013, But with the West distracted by Russia-Ukraine, Rwanda saw an opening and juiced them up. This time it wasn't just guns and gear. Word is over 4,000 Rwandan troops slipped in undercover. Kagame denies it, but come on. With Goma and Bukavu down, Rwanda's taken a huge bite. How'd they pull it off? First, the DRC shot itself in the foot. The UN peacekeepers were a pain for Rwanda, keeping things stable-ish in the east. But DRC's president, Felix Tshisekedi, rode in on a nationalist wave and hates foreign boots on his soil. He called the peacekeepers useless, 25 years and no fix for rebels or civilian deaths, and demanded they bounce by December 2023. After some back and forth, they agreed to split by December 2024. A dumb move. The DRC can't defend itself, and kicking out the UN was like handing Kagame the keys. Second, that Yalta system's crumbling fast. Trump's back, talking about snagging Canada and Greenland. Think he's going to care about Rwanda? France, meanwhile, is losing its grip in Africa. They've been booted from Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, West Africa, closer to home, and can't handle Central Africa anymore. Check this. In July 2024, France cut a €400 million deal with Rwanda, including military training. Then at the Francophonie summit in October, Macron was all smiles with Kagame, ticking off Tshisekedi so bad he bailed. France's play? If you can't stop him, team up and grab what you can. When M23 took those cities, Macron mumbled about DRC's borders, but did squat. Well, neighbors watching. Kagame's real worry is the neighbors. Angola, South Africa, Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya. None want Rwanda getting too big, but they're not exactly rushing to save the DRC either. A strong DRC with all its people and resources would shake up Africa's power map, and they'd rather keep it weak. Uganda says it's against M23, but lets them recruit and arm up on the down low. Chaos means profit. Kenya's got peacekeepers there, but stays out of the fight, just scooping up banks. Tanzania and Angola are in the same boat. South Africa's the odd one out, wants to flex as the regional boss. Rwanda changing the game without asking? That stings. They've lost 13 soldiers already and might send more. But folks at home are fed up. 200+ days of blackouts in 2024, and they'd rather fix that than bleed for the DRC. So their help's probably capped. Chaos is the new normal. With big powers out of the picture and neighbors playing vulture, Rwanda's got a golden ticket. And 2 cities ain't enough. History's mostly war and mess. The last 30 years of peace and development were a fluke we got too cozy with. This isn't about loving bloodshed. It's the old system dying. And Africa's borders are a joke, drawn by colonizers with no clue. Tribes got split, enemies got lumped together, all to make ruling easier. The DRC's east is full of Hutus and Tutsis who don't give a damn about Kinshasa. Tutsis want Rwanda. If Hutus take over there, they might too. No talking that out. Fists will fly. The Yalta system preached sacred borders, but that needs muscle to enforce. When the muscle's gone, it's over. Before, Rwanda would have been forced back or sanctioned. Look at Gaddafi, hammered for trying to grab Chad's north. Now, Rwanda's chilling, no pushback. Pre-1, there were 60-ish countries. Post-World War II, Yalta bumped it to 200+. As it falls apart, some are gonna get swallowed. Scary? Sure, but not all bad. If the US, Russia, and the rest don't take, how's China gonna get its peace?